Welcome to FOB TV, the future of business. I'm your host, Kevin Benedict. I'm a futurist and lecturer here at TCS, and I want to welcome everyone to the program today. I'm so excited to introduce our guest today, Timo Savolainen, or Savolainen. What's the best way of saying that, Timo?
All is good. I'm just Timo from Finland.
So Timo is one of Finland's leading AI strategists, and that's one of the reasons I'm so excited to have him on today, because of course there's so much to talk about. But at the same time, happiness is a topic that I'm running through this series on happiness, because I think that's all what we're seeking ultimately anyway. And so if I can combine both AI and happiness into the same podcast, we have a real winner. So Timo, where are you calling in from today?
Thank you for having me, Kevin. Yeah, I'm from the Greater Helsinki area. Actually, this is my home office nowadays. As most of the people, this is the place where I work. It's early evening already here in Finland, Northern Europe. So I'm really happy to be part of the show today.
So tell us about your background and how did you become involved in AI?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I'm wondering that as well on my behalf, because it just happened, and maybe I start already what I have studied, what I've been doing, just to give you and the listeners overview. So actually, I have studied in Finland, Austria, and Australia, and my major has been business and knowledge management. And that was like 25 years ago already. And since that, I have been working in different companies like Siemens Business Services, a big consulting company in the Europe, as well as Kesko Food, which is one of the leading grocery chains in Finland. And you know what? We live next to Russia, and we have that long border. And during my time in Kesko Food IT, I was building and actually starting a business in St. Petersburg. So that was time before the current situation. And for the last 12 years, I have been involved in consulting again as a management consultant. And I have been always interested about technology. For example, when I was a child, actually I lived in an island. You know that Finland is a land of 1,000 lakes, Nokia mobile phones, as well as Angry Birds. But I was living in middle of Finland. Lake Päijänne is the second largest lake, and I used to live there. And during my childhood, you know what? We actually got the internet for the first time here in the Nordics, and I was like, "Wow, what's that?" And that's like 30 plus years from now, and that's kind of the story. I have been just going deeper and deeper to the rabbit hole. How about you?
Well, Timo, I made my first website in 1992, and it was just a simple one, with just to greet people and have some text and upload some photos, just different things to test and practice. So I've just been playing with it from there. It just occurred to me how ironic it is, Timo, that the happiest country in the world is also the developer of Angry Birds.
Yeah. Maybe there is something that we have to have those cute and funny and those really angry birds to be the funniest. You
have to take out those angry emotions in your game so you could be the happy country. Oh man, that's too much funny. So let's talk about that. You have a surfboard behind you. What makes you happy?
Yeah, actually, I'm a family guy nowadays. I used to be a surfer. This is a souvenir from Australia. And when I was studying in Tampere University of Technology, I decided that I need to go abroad. I just really that's something that I have always dreamed of, because we don't have palm trees and those hot warm waters here in Finland, but you can actually surf also in Finland. But I studied in Australia snowboarding, and I studied surfing in Australia. So this is my happy memory from the Australia trip. And there is also a lot of things ongoing related to that. And one memory I would like to share with you is also from that time, because that was something like 2006 and so. Canadian students, international exchange students, told me there that there is now this new web page. You know what? This web page is really, really cool, and you can actually take notes and pictures, what you have been eating, what you have been doing during the day. And I was like, I'm from Finland. I don't share my thoughts and my daily routines with other people, and I was like, okay, forget it. Next fall I came back to Finland, and all the newspapers, it was everywhere. And you know what was the web page? It was Facebook. and that's really nothing to do with Finns in general. We don't.
So for those that aren't familiar with the stereotype of a Finn, is they like to be quiet, and they like to be secretive, or they just don't share a lot. That's the stereotype. Now, I just got back from Helsinki last month, where I spent almost 2 weeks, and I had conversations, and fun conversations, with many people. So I looked at that stereotype and said, maybe times are changing a little bit. But yeah, Finns are known to be very quiet.
True. And it's a stereotype, and maybe I'm just a different one. But still, that's something that we really, it's in our cultural heritage, that we don't want to keep a space in big cities like New York or Beijing, where I've been in. It's really too many people for us, to be honest.
Well, you guys have more forests than people, and 188,000 lakes, over 50,000 islands. It's an amazing place, by the way, for anyone looking for a destination to explore. Awesome place. So let me just ask you, what makes you happy?
Well, nowadays it's family time. I have a big family in Finland, and of course I love to go to our summer cottage, and it's really special, because there is no internet, there is no electricity, there is no running water, but like you mentioned, there is huge space, there is the beautiful nature. We have our own lake there with the sauna, and that's the perfect spot for me.
So let's touch on that. There's 5.6 million Finns, and there's 3 million saunas. What role does saunas play in your happiness, Timo?
It's a crucial part. And when I was studying in Austria and Australia, I didn't have that for a while. And when I got back, it was just like the perfect place. And like last weekend, I was snowboarding, because still it's possible. It's springtime here in southern Finland. We have still some snow. I was snowboarding with my friends from Tampere, and what we did after a great skiing and snowboarding day, we went to ice hole, swimming, and sauna. So combining those two things, and that's maybe 4 degrees is the water, and combining with the 80-90 degrees sauna, that's something special.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. I didn't get a chance to do that last time. Well, actually, I had the chance, but I didn't take it. So I'll have to come back and do that again. Now, I first came across you by reading some of your papers, and you write papers where you encourage the Finnish government to implement some certain strategies around AI, and you have some professional articles and things like that. Do you consider yourself an optimist or a pessimist when it comes to the future?
definitely optimist. I see that there is plenty of opportunities, and you just need to take them. It's like surfing, and that's something I learned in Australia, because I used to be I am still a
Yeah.
snowboarder. But when I went there, it was like, of course, I can do the surfing. The waves are just keep coming, and basically the board is pretty similar without biddings. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, that didn't happen. I felt quite badly. The board, this one
Yeah.
hit me to
Oh,
the nose. It broke down, and still, I believe that it's better to learn to surf than just keeping pushed down with the waves. So definitely optimistic.
oh man. Well, we'll get into that. So let's talk about this again. Finland just received the top ranking on surveys around the world of where they're looking for which countries are the happiest countries in the world. And as we've talked about on this show before, 8 straight years, Finland is number one, the happiest country in the world. Why do you think that is, Timo?
Yeah, I think that's a long story, but maybe to put it in short, I think that's our we have been independent for a while, and we have this northern spirit here. And what I mean with that, like you mentioned, this is a huge country with quite a small amount of people, so 5 million people in a huge
Yeah.
area. And like the biggest problems for us, if you, for example, take traffic, is that I live almost 1 hour from the Helsinki city centrum.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the longest way to go to work for people in general. So we people complain here if you have to sit in a public transportation or drive with your own car more than 1 hour. And if you compare like those huge cities like in the
Yeah.
States or in the middle of Europe, they are like, that's like quite small amount of time. And I think that's something, because the cities are beautiful. The infrastructure is really there for us. Like public services are really good. And for example, in the elementary school, there is free food for everybody, and that's something. It's tiny thing. We don't really
Uh-huh.
value that in a daily basis, but I think that's one part. There is social services. Of course, I'm really worried about that, how much we can utilize AI, for example, or humanoid robots, because there is a lot of old people as well in
Yeah.
Finland, and we really need to take care of our elder. There is many things, but one is this nature, then is the public services. Maybe something that I haven't yet mentioned is of course the Santa Claus. It's from the Finland, and there is the reindeers and everything that brings the life
So
and joy.
I have to bring this up. I have been to many countries that all claim St. Nicholas. I remember sitting in a Thai food restaurant in Amsterdam and having a book author tell me that St. Nick was from just outside of Amsterdam and he has his whole life. And this guy had written a huge volume on St. Nicholas from Amsterdam. But you're willing to debate him?
Definitely. Yeah. Every Christmas we have seen the one going from
Yes.
house to house. So I think he must be Finn.
Okay, must be Finn. So, Finland is not the happiest country by accident. I mean, this is 8 straight years. And I also know that that didn't happen overnight. What kinds of decisions did the Finnish people make this century that led to 8 straight years of happiness?
We need to really thank the previous generations on that. So this is the benefits and the value we are now really taking out of it. But it's I think it's a cultural thing, and we have been building this country together, and what it means. We haven't been independent all the time, and we have been part of Sweden and Russia and so forth. So because we are quite small country in the northern Europe, but we build together, and there is a lot of like, for example, manufacturing industry for decades already, and great companies really giving good value for the people. And for example, Nokia mobile phones, that's one story you always have to touch when you
Yes.
talk about Finland.
I think all of us had Nokia phones, especially before the iPhones came out.
Exactly. And even though we didn't succeed at that point, but now, for example, Nokia is really leading with AI again, building the next generation 6G networks. So that's like we have this 5G and now all over Finland, but they are already doing the research for the 6G, because that's really something that powers the AI.
Is this happiness that is found in Finland, is that something exportable? Can you teach other countries how to achieve what you guys have achieved? Because now in the ranking, you're number one for 8 straight years, but I wonder how many decades you've been in the top 10. It might have been a lot longer than that. I don't know. But is this exportable? Can you teach this? Can the rest of us learn from what Finland has accomplished?
Pieces and something that you maybe can copy. I think it at some really important part is this, that everybody is pretty much on the same line. So no matter what is your background, you can basically study editing. So the studying is actually the elementary, the secondary, and the university. It's free for everyone.
Wow.
So basically that, and what's best, you actually get money from the government if you are willing to study. So they are paying part of your rent. They are giving you money for school supply and food, and of course it's a small amount. But I think that's something that to think about. So because learning is lifelong, at least I think so. That's a kind of something that I try to keep and teach my children as well. And what I have learned from my parents is that if there is possibilities, there's this kind of opportunities. Like you ask, are you optimistic or pessimistic? I see that even though what is your background or social group, if we put it in that way, there is huge opportunities, and actually those social groups are quite small. So there is no big gap between different kind of groups in Finland.
Well, so equality, if you want to study, education can be free. There's free food for the kids. There's just, we can talk more about this too. The safety net is just, or the social network is just incredible. And the safety net that you guys have is just amazing. So let's just ponder the future a little bit. What qualities help Finland be happy now, but will also help them succeed in the future? What qualities do you think you can carry forward into the future?
One is mindset, because nowadays, if I touch a bit about AI again, algorithms, they can actually change the thinking. There is the bubbles in all of these social media platforms. For example, Facebook, I have different groups I'm involved. But still, like if I think about the youngsters and the children, TikTok and those short video social media platforms are really narrowing the mindset and thinking. So keeping up the own kind of a spirit and open mind, that you don't take it as a granted, and really looking and really investigating, is this actually true, and is this something that I share the values and the content. Of course the youngsters doesn't think about that in so deep levels, but in general, that's something that we really need to keep up. And of course there is, for example, rules coming now that we know based on research that these mobile phones are not actually good for children, and it's better to give them later than sooner, even though we need those on daily basis.
We need those old Nokia phones, Timo. The ones without the screens. That's what we need. So let's jump into AI. We brought it up a couple times here. Help me understand this statement that I read in one of your articles. It's we're now seeing the rise of ACI, which is an acronym for artificial capable intelligence, a stage between AI and AGI. Now, I'm not familiar with that. Explain that to me.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and maybe I start with the surfboard again.
Okay, that works for me.
Because the main thing is you need to learn to surf. Whatever is the wave, you have to take it. And if you take too big wave to start with, you don't succeed. But what I mean with this is that actually this is the fourth wave of the digital tsunami. So the first wave was actually the internet and really those basic things. Then we got the mobile phones and mobile internet. And the third wave was actually these platform economies and cloud services that we have today. And the fourth one is actually this AI wave, which is now really building big as we speak. And we have actually seen just a tiny part of it. And what comes, because I'm an engineer on my background, the first wave was quite long in the same, it was like 30 years. Then it was 14 and 10 and so forth. And when I wrote my last, it was the third book, a guidebook for boards of directors and management teams. Actually, it's titled how to build competitive advantage with AI. I described that this fourth wave is only like 8 to 10 years, but now in last 6 months I need to change my mind.
Yeah.
You know what? We don't talk about years anymore. We talk about months. So this capable ACI, I predicted that it will come in let's say 2 years. We have it already. So what we talk about that is all of these agents, AI agents. They are capable of doing things that we are used to do as knowledge workers. For example, this is a basic example. If I want to fly to Australia, I need tickets and all kind of things over there. I can use the agents to do that work for me. I just give the credit card and I say the date that I want to go to Surfers Paradise where I used to study, and please get me the ticket with the lowest price and so forth. And that's just something that is now coming, and we are understanding how much actually you can benefit of AI agents and this capable artificial intelligence. And for example, for me, I'm using those all and every day. I get not only like 20 or 30%, I get 2x or 3x productivity. So basically, I can just double myself and do in one day, I can do 2 or 3 days work with agents. And that's just the beginning.
Wow. I find that this room behind me is really full of my agents, because everything from I ask for multiple platforms to do research for me. I then combine all that research into one document. I then ask those agents again to review for validity, to look for anything that's missing, to look for anything that's inaccurate. And so they're cross-referencing each other, they're validating each other, or they're calling out missing content from one research paper. All of that I use all day long. Even our podcast, the podcast we're recording right now, we use software that will remove empty gaps and make it a more concise, speed and cadence of our discussion. If we're repeating the word or something like that, it will recognize it and clean up our conversation. So the conversation isn't changed, but it certainly is smoothed out by AI. But we use it everywhere, not to mention our vehicles and our phones and just answering our day-to-day questions. So you wrote recently, AI's influence will transform Finnish society, work, leisure, economics, governance, not in decades, but within the next 4 to 5 years. In what way Timo, do you anticipate Finnish society being impacted?
Yeah. Well, everything, all of it, and you know what? We are living in the northern Europe, and if we compare, for example, to all China and
Mm-hmm.
Thailand, Vietnam, that region, there is these natural tsunami waves, which are
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
horrible for the people living in the coastline. But we are safe in the northern Europe. We don't have that natural tsunami waves. But now this AI wave is really, we can see it on the horizon. It's already
Mm-hmm.
this age and capable artificial intelligence. But what's actually keeps me up nowadays is AGI.
Yeah.
So artificial general intelligence, and the people like Sam Altman, the godfather of AI, deep minds, top people, and Anthropic, they are saying that this AGI is coming in 20 months.
Yep.
So let's have
Wow.
it. It's like 2 years from now. If we have this same discussion in March 27, I
Mm-hmm.
think that the national and let's at the whole global situation is totally different. The geopolitics and everything has changed. But if we just think about the influence of this kind of a wave that is going around the globe, no matter what is the country situation today, it will change everything. And that's something that actually just yesterday EU presented this kind of a EU AI action plan to make this continent actually stronger and more independent between like China and the States,
Yes.
because this is affecting everybody and everywhere. And what comes to Finland, I think that we have a really good situation because of the people and the infrastructure. We know that it is an opportunity, but we just need to just make the right and correct moves now. And that's why I wrote this white paper for the national strategy as a sense of urgency. We really
Yeah.
need to now act. It's not all about talking and that kind of things. We really need to do things now and today, actually in next few months.
Wow. And that's one thing that it seems like Finland has been able to successfully do is agree on what the aspirations are for your country and then actually make an action plan to deliver on that. So you did that to generate happiness over the last century. Now, let me ask you, when you look at AI now and you look at what has traditionally made the Finns such a happy people, do you see AI making you even happier? Is that possible?
Definitely, but not for all. But
Mm,
what I mean with that, for example, this was a good example you mentioned that you are using agents every day. I do as well, but I do have also colleagues who haven't yet touched them. I think this is actually a huge problem in general. People are not taking the new tools in use. They don't need to, or they cannot. The company they are working for are saying that no, this is not safe. You shouldn't touch these new tools. It's dangerous and whatsoever. But for example, in my company, it's possible. And one of my colleagues still didn't touch them yet. And I was just discussing with her a few weeks ago on a coffee machine when we met together, and she was like, I really need to do this project plan, and I need to really look on the resourcing and the timetable, and she was really stressed. And she was talking that because you, Timo, you are leading AI strategies. Could you help me to utilize the AI? And I just said to her that yes, definitely I can. And my recommendation is take your AI agent, build your first AI agent, give this as a problem to the agent, and the agent will help you. And she was like, immediately she said, like, you can see on her body language and everything, she was like, wow, Timo, thank you. That's a really good tip. I definitely need to do that. And the stress level went down already. And then she mentioned that You know what, Timo? I have this ring, this aura. The
Yep.
Finnish company building these really tiny rings that can measure your blood
In
and
our
everything.
family, we have two of those. So
Yeah. She said to me that, you know what? After I have taken this agent in use, I really need to look the statistic how it looks like, and I think this true. This is really something that it can bring happiness, because we can actually take more time on a sauna. We can have a more time
yeah.
with the family. We can actually do less work and more the things that we like.
Yes. Now you've encouraged your own country there, Finland, to be more active at creating a unified, bold AI vision. Why do you think that's important, and what does that consist of?
Yeah. That's a good question. And even though we have a really good things, I'm still worrying about that, because the speed is so fast at the moment. You need to keep pushing all the time. You cannot rest that, okay, I took these agents in use. That's enough. No, that's not enough. You need to learn every day. And
Mhm.
that's the main reason we have still a lot of opportunities, and that there it's not tiny money. It's actually billions of years of GDP that we can have from AI, and that's the reason I wrote this white paper for our government, and I would like to see a really action plan like EU and Britain and Singapore has done this, because I'm a management consultant. I do
Yeah.
this for a daily basis for different public and private organizations, and what this kind of a plan includes. It's a vision where we want to go, and then there is actually concrete steps, what we do this year, what we do next year, what we don't do, what kind of people we need, what kind of skills we need. Is this something that we can actually build new business for us? Do we take like the blue ocean, or still on the red ocean? And this kind of questions. And this is something that I would like to see every company, no matter in Finland or any country, to discuss that what AI actually means for us, why we would like to use it. Do we want to have better income, or
Right.
other things? And this is the reason why I raised this question for our
Right.
leaders, that what is the
Man,
goal for us?
I have so much respect for that approach, Timo. It seems like in the States, we're just all consumed in partisan politics. Nobody's talking about the important things, the aspirational goals, what we can really use AI for that will help the good of all humanity. We're just, and, how can we use this to help improve longevity, our health, our quality of life, the education of our children, to make our children's life easier and happier and more fulfilled, more content, more satisfied. All these things that I think really contribute to happiness. We're not starting there. We're not saying, guys, how do we use this to create a country that's happier? Oh, man. So you predicted, Timo, that in 2025, this year, AI agents will be the most influential force impacting Finnish society and working life in the short term. Why do you think this year is so pivotal?
It's actually not a new thing. It's similar, like if you take the OpenAI, ChatGPT, and the 3.5, which really came out of the blue, and everybody was like myself. I was like, wow, this is something I really wanna use. I took it in use at the first day. But even though I have been like surfing the digital waves for 2 decades already, I didn't know what was going under the surface. I wasn't really looking on what OpenAI was doing. And then they came out like this Chinese DeepSeek came in the
Yeah.
beginning of the year. There were so many things ongoing that you cannot really follow everything. But basically, the idea is that these agents, it's not as similar comparing to OpenAI ChatGPT 3.5. It's not a new thing. It's just something that we now start understanding, because, for example, OpenAI, they have published papers related to these topics for more than 5 years ago. So basically, they were teaching agents to play games like Angry Birds, and this, if you remember, in the old mobile phone, there was this snake game. And
Yes.
it was
Yep.
growing when you go further and ate those apples or whatsoever. And that was the starting point of AI agents. You need to really teach them to behave like human, playing that game and shooting those angry birds. And now, like, we are in that point that, okay, they are capable, artificial intelligence, AGI, and they are doing the things that we are used to do, and this work, like knowledge work, is now changing within our hands. So it's changing every day, and we are seeing a lot of agents coming on a daily basis. So that's the reason why I think that this year is the year of the agents.
Now, I did a bunch of research on Finland in competitiveness rankings. And I came across 4 or 5 different rankings where Finland is ranked extremely high, like in the top 5 and the top 10 in global competitiveness. Now, I wouldn't have necessarily guessed that without reading those, because I'm thinking, okay, Finland has such a strong safety net. They have so many social programs that help with wonderfully long and complete parental leave, free education, free food, all these wonderful benefits that you guys have. And there's a fairly equal society between the rich and the poor, and it makes a very content and satisfied country. So I'm thinking, okay, everybody can just sit back. But you guys are so high in the competitiveness ranking. How can that be? How can you have all those social programs and all that care and all that government support and still be competitive?
Yeah, maybe it's something that because you have visited Finland and you know our heritage. It's the sisu, and that's a
Yes.
Finnish word, sisu. What it means, it means that if we decide to do something, we will actually do it, no matter how much snow is there and how cold it is. We will just go through and do it, and that's something like I.
Tough, persistent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's about it. So basically, if we wanna compete and if we wanna be more happier, we just need to have sisu, and that's something. Maybe it might be a difficult to understand if you haven't been here, but it can be hard. It can be really cold, and even though it's a big country, you need to really push forward, and that's what we have been doing for decades. And we will keep doing.
Yeah. So you identified in one of your papers, you identified all these things, all these areas of life that you think AI is going to impact in Finland in particular: work, leisure, business, Finnish culture and society. Now, how are you guys going to integrate AI into that and still maintain your happiness? What kind of guardrails are you going to use to say, look, we're number 1 on the happiness ranking. We want to take advantage of AI, but we only want to use it if it furthers our goals of happiness. How do you approach that?
Yeah, I think that the EU has here a big influence. And for example, this common regulation that we have, the EU AI Act. So basically, it means that you cannot use AI for surveillance and this kind of a democratic gathering of people, and that's forbidden in EU. But there are so many other aspects where you can actually utilize the AI and the power of automation and so forth. And that's something that we have this trust on government. That's also something that I haven't yet mentioned, but people in Finland in general, they trust the government, they trust the newspapers and the media in general all over. And that's something that, okay, if we have and we can keep up with this trust, we can actually utilize AI for good for everybody. And that's something that we can build on. And even though I think that's one of the challenges and the reasons why I actually wrote that white paper, and you know what, it's a paper like really this traditional paper with text and picture, but you now actually can listen it. It's I have actually also a podcast and Spotify, the Fourth Wave Radio, and I used this Google LLM notebook LLM and I just put it there. It's in Finnish, but now you can read it and listen it in any language. Basically, it's nowadays available in English, but it's just amount of time when everybody in Finland, because you know what, we have two national languages here, Finnish and Swedish. Of course, many people like me and most of the young people speak English quite well, but still AI is something that can be used to translate for the public services and the materials for the language that the person is using. And in a national aspect, because we have these two main languages, because we have been part of Sweden for a long time ago, but still we have Finnish and Swedish. And I see that this is an opportunity again to serve the public good for better.
Now, we've been highlighting a lot of the wonderful qualities that help Finland rank high on the happiness, but there's also a lot of challenges as well, because Finland, like many European and Western nations, have a shrinking workforce, an aging population, and the fertility rate among young couples is dropping just like it is around the world. Fewer people are getting married, fewer people are having as many children, all of these things, which is going to have an impact on us. How do you see being able to use AI to help address some of those and maintain that happiness ranking?
Yeah. There is actually a thought and an idea I really recommend if you haven't yet seen. For example, in LinkedIn, you can find Mikko Alasaarela. He's really a global leading hacker and hacker for good. I mean, he has been utilizing AI for decades and if you look his postings and so forth. But I think that one idea, because he was part of the publishing event of the white paper, there was also a member from the Finnish parliament over there, and we spoke about that. Yes, actually, this is not a problem anymore. This what you describe is not actually a problem if we utilize the data and the AI as a full potential. And I give an example that Mikko pointed out. So, for example, because we have so small country and so small amount of people, the public sector is actually quite big, and there is working quite a lot of people. Now we are getting older and older, and there was now new statistics that it was quite big number. I think that was like 30 to 40% in next 10 years that are getting out of because they are aging and retiring, and because of the AI, you don't need to actually take new people in, but you can actually get more and better services. And what I mean with that, and what, for example, what Mikko stated is that let's put it, it's kind of a vision that 90% of public decisions, for example, if you need money for studying, you need a decision that are you in the university, are you working or not? I'm not. Okay, then the government will give you money. Let's have this kind of a dream that 90% of the public decisions will be done under than 1 minute.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
Brilliant. Brilliant. I love that answer. I love that answer. We're not looking to replace, but backfill humanity because of the demographics, so we can maintain and perhaps even improve services, improve efficiency and accuracy and deliverables because of the automation. That's powerful. Wow. So Timo, I want to just thank you so much for sharing your experiences, your expertise, your white paper.
Definitely, yeah, I'll do. And thank you for having me, Kevin. It has been too long since we have been discussing about this. So really good catching up, and really good to hear that you are also really leading the way with AI agents, because we need these kind of examples like you and in everybody. Maybe something to add at the beginning, to the end, is that please take the AI in use. Just any work, any kind of job you are doing, think about AI first. Could I utilize AI? And I think that's something that secures your future in the job market.
Nothing helps you learn better than just jumping in and practicing and learning and failing and learning again.